Hey everybody, Curtis Bryant here. I wanted to do this video for you guys to kind of give you some insight into what it is exactly my goal is with this podcast blog, whatever you want to call it. I've had several people reach out to me recently, ask me questions, why are you doing what you're doing? It just seems like, to them that I'm trying to create chaos in Citrus County, disrupting things and, not making the county move forward and just kind of, calling out things just to kind of call out stuff and no plan in place, just creating chaos. So I want to kind of address that, kind of give you guys some insight into my thought process of why I started this, why I wanted to get into this portion of what I'm doing, and my views on different things related to that. So first of all, I want to say that the reason I did this was, some of you guys may know this, but I ran for County Commission 2024 and lost. During that process, I learned a lot about county government. I attended meetings, looked into behind the scenes things. One thing about me that you guys will notice most likely is I like to do research. I will say this without a doubt, I'm probably one of the most researched people that you guys will come across because I research everything. I look up statutes, laws. To me, the research aspect is the most fun of what I'm doing because it allows me to learn more things about government, learn more things about state laws and things of that nature. So I love the research element of that. So when there's things to research, court cases, reading court cases, all those things, those are things that I love to do. I'm very good at doing that. So part of that, as I ran for county commission, is I've learned a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that I didn't really like. My campaign was based on wanting more transparency in government. I wanted government officials to be held accountable. I wanted the citizens to have access to government officials and access to the information that they're using to make decisions and all of that. We see national politics, people are, shady and, this and that. I didn't want that for Citrus County, so I ran on a campaign of transparency. I wanted that to be out there. Take for instance, I decided I didn't want any developer money. I would turn developer money away because I didn't want, as a commissioner, to be sitting up there for a development that came to the board, and that person may have given me donation money, what have you, from their company. And then me making a vote on that because the transparency there is not good. The optics are not good. So I didn't want that to happen for me, so I made that decision not to do that. Now, again, I'm not accusing anyone of breaking laws or anything like that, or bribery, nothing like that. Just to make that clear. But for me, it's the optics and how that looked as a commissioner voting on a project for someone who donated money. Not a good look, whether it's approved or whatever. I didn't want any of those things, so I decided myself that I wasn't going to accept donations from developers. If someone did, great, that's on them. It's not illegal, whatever. But I wanted the citizens to know that I was thinking about the optics and transparency thing. So when I created this to get more transparent government. I wanted to use my research skills and things that I had, technology that I have available to me, and things like that, to find things behind the scenes that are going on and let the public know and educate them on what's going on. During this period of time that I've started this, I found a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and that's why it looks like I'm just putting out chaos, because all the things that I'm finding are things that potential violations of laws and things of that nature that people are completely clueless about, and lack transparency in government. So I put that out there for you guys to know because I'm challenging our elected officials and county staff and whatnot to be transparent in their work and not do things behind the scenes out of the public eye. We see what happens when that happens, and it's not a good look for Citrus County. So my goal with this is to increase transparency in government by making officials, public officials, elected officials, even county staff, more transparent in what they're doing. Because again, we take text messages, for instance. I've done a lot of public records requests for text messages. A lot of people here in Citrus County do public records requests. There's hundreds and hundreds of them done all the time. But very few of them are ever text messages because most people don't realize that text messages are public record, even on personal devices. So for instance, I've done a lot of text messages to the county commissioners. If you don't know this, but county staff phones are not turned on. The county devices that they have for their phone systems are not turned on to accept text messaging. So any text messages that are sent to either staff or county commissioners are done on their personal devices, not the county devices. Now, there's nothing illegal with that. There are a lot of texts on their personal devices, even about county business and all those things. But the problem becomes when people do public records requests, most of the time those public records requests are emails. So they ask for emails between commissioners and staff or commissioners and whatever. And so they turn those emails over. IT has access to those emails. The county has access to those emails. So the records custodian sends those emails out and sends those requests and fulfills those requests with the emails that they have access to. The problem there is that the county records does not have access to personal text messages of either their employees or the county commissioners. So any text message that is sent regarding county business, so a commissioner is talking to somebody about whatever project, pick a project. I don't want to handpick anything off the top of my head, but pick any project in Citrus County. Anything that's related to their job is generally considered public record. So appointment times, talking about staff issues, talking about votes that they made, talking about projects that they want to pass, sales tax, things like that. All of those things are tied to their job. So any communication on text message with anybody, whether it's a constituent, whether it's a staff member, whether it's the county attorney, anybody that they have that communication with regarding those topics is considered public record. So if someone was to record request their personal cell phone device, he'd be like, hey, so-and-so, I would like to see your cell phone records for text messages regarding such and such a topic on these particular days. By law, the county commissioner or staff member or whoever it is bound to provide those records. Now, in my research of things, I know this, and so I started reaching out for public records for their text messages, and you guys have seen many of those that I've released to the public, and a lot of people don't realize that those are public record. Even some of the commissioners were kind of shocked at some of the things that were considered public record, some of the staff members, things like that. So you'll see a lot of records, text messages, things like that they don't necessarily want you to see, but they are considered public record. Same thing with Facebook messages, social media messages, Twitter, Facebook, any message that they send in any format, whether it's text message, whatever, is considered public record as well. So personal Facebook accounts are open for public records, and obviously like their campaign pages and things like that. Anything that's related to county business that is transmitted on any device in any format is considered public record. Now, the transparency aspect of this is I want people to see what is going on with county government. It's easy to see with emails because county has access to emails. With the text messages, we're trusting the elected officials or the staff members to provide those records. The problem with that is that there's no oversight to it. So if, for instance, a commissioner doesn't want to send a text message request and says, hey, I have no records of those text messages, then we don't get to see what happens in those text messages. The county has no policy to capture text messages from personal devices. And they have the devices for the county turned off for text messaging. So it's up to the individual to abide by the law. So they are what they consider custodian of the record. The problem there is it puts a lot of burden on the individuals. Obviously, if they don't text, I think that's the policy. There's an administrative regulation about texting, and I'm pretty sure it says for county staff not to use cell phones or text messaging to communicate. But we all know that they do it because I have those records to show that. But the reason for that is that they're afraid that if there's a records request that comes in and they either forget to include the text message, or if they're asked for text message and they don't search the right terms or whatever it is, let's say, someone asks about a fence on whatever street, and the person says, hey, I want to know about the fence on such like Smith Street or whatever. If the text message doesn't necessarily mention Smith Street, but it's talking about that fence, that person messaged another staffer or whatever talking about that fence, but they may not mention Smith Street specifically, it's still a topic regarding that particular fence, so it should be fulfilled with the public records. Far too often, there's so many text messages on their personal devices, what they do is they search, they type in Smith Street, and it doesn't come up in the text messages because Smith Street wasn't used specifically, but they are talking about that particular project. So things like that happen all the time, to where they may accidentally forget to include something or overlook something, something like that. Problem there is that it's against the law to do that. So not submitting that file is a violation of public records laws, whether accidental or otherwise. My thing with all of this is, again, I'm looking for transparency. I want the public to know what's going on with the government. I want them to be aware that they are able to ask for text messages, because a lot of county business takes place over text, or discussions take place over text. Same with personal email accounts. There's a lot of personal email accounts that I found messages sent to. So transparency is the goal with all of this. I want a government that people can trust. I want us to be able to trust our county commissioners, make sure that we trust that they're doing the right thing. There's no shadiness behind the scenes, things like that. So having gone through the process of trying to become an elected official, you learn a lot about what goes on behind the scenes. And so I just wanted the public to be able to do that. Number two with this is I want to educate the public on things. Far too often, we just see headlines somewhere. We don't read the full stories, or we hear rumors about things, things of that nature. So I want to be able to educate the public about what is going on in government, whether it's county commission meetings, whether it's other things that are going on. So I just want to use this platform to educate the public. The thing with me, with all of this, is I don't rely on this as income. There's several other people in the county that do news reporting and cover things and all of those things, but they rely on the income from that. It's their job, obviously. So I don't rely on that. I have a second job, a main job that, this is just kind of for fun that I do on the side, kind of thing, and I'm not making money from it. I do have options for people to tip me and stuff like that. But to date, I think I've gotten $4 total, $5 total, something like that. Not a whole lot of money for that. That doesn't mean that that's not going to always stay the case. Maybe I do a subscription model, maybe whatever. I haven't decided how I'm doing this, but the point is that I don't rely on this as my sole income. This isn't my job. This is something I do on the side to help benefit Citrus County and help keep people educated. So that being said, that enables me to not rely on this as income, so which means I can uncover things, I can educate things, I can dive into issues that other people may be afraid to do, because if they do it and a certain group of people decide that they don't want to support that person anymore, then they lose their income, right? So with me, I don't have that fear. I don't rely on this as income, so I'm not afraid to put out there, things to help the public be educated about issues. I'm not afraid to ruffle feathers, so to speak, of different people within the community with what I say, who may or may not like, things I'm bringing to light or what have you. So that being said, I'm not afraid to put out there what you guys need to see for fear of losing business or not getting paid or anything like that, because I don't rely on this as part of that. Also, full transparency, most of my business isn't even in Citrus County. I do a lot of outside of Citrus County. Being a photographer gives me availability to pretty much anywhere. So a lot of my clients aren't even Citrus County related. We travel a lot and do a lot of different things there. So even if there was a boycott locally with certain groups of people, whatever, that's not necessarily going to hurt the business, because there's other opportunities there. So I don't rely necessarily solely on Citrus County. However, I do have a lot of clients here in Citrus County, and I love the clients that I have here in Citrus County and love creating images for them. But I'm not like a restaurant or some type of business that relies on the Citrus County locals 100% for the business. So that allows me a little bit more flexibility into being honest on issues and bringing things that other people may be scared to bring up for fear of backlash or what have you. So the goal with that is, number one, transparency. Number two is keeping public educated. I want to make things easier to understand. Government can get complex, things like quasi-judicial hearings, what are those things? And so I want to break some of those things down. I want to keep people educated on what is going on with land use hearings. Far too often, people don't have, hours and hours and hours of their day to go to a meeting or watch it online. So they catch snippets here and there. So I want a way to be able to communicate that with people and open that up. Again, I learned during the campaign that a lot of people are not necessarily aware of what's going on with county government because the process of being active with it is burdensome. Meetings take place at 1 o'clock. A lot of people work. They go home and they don't have access, for hours on end to watch meetings. So they want like quick recaps of things, or they want to read about issues that, land use issues, things that are coming to Citrus County, things like that. So I want to do the research for everybody. I want to provide that out there. When there's an issue that comes up, I want to provide everyone with the background information so that they could be educated about the issues and learn about those in a manner that's easier for them to digest, rather than sitting through meetings and reading 1,000-page backup material for the agenda items and all of that. So I want to make it easier for people to do those things. Third goal of this is I want it to be a platform that we're able to suggest ideas to help move Citrus County forward, or to, kind of give them, heads up on certain things. Earlier today, I got accused of wanting to be, all about lawsuits and wanting, Citrus County to get sued and this and that. The opposite is true. I actually don't want Citrus County to get sued. And often, what I'm doing is putting out information to make them aware of what they're doing may lead to a lawsuit. That's kind of what I'm doing with some of those things. Take Wright Rudder, for instance. I told them they were crazy for canceling the lease, because even if they were correct and, those issues that they raised were, valid issues, and they end up winning in courts, what does that happen to the county at the end of the day? And there was a lawsuit obviously filed from Wright Rudder. Same thing with IV4. I offered suggestions for IV4 and how they can do things, and now we have a lawsuit with IV4 for those things. And I mentioned about the Senate Bill 180 with the impact fees yesterday. At the meeting, I said, hey, you guys are talking about impact fees, but nobody's talked about SB 180, which could potentially lead Citrus County into a lawsuit. But apparently people assume that I just want lawsuits for Citrus County. So again, the goal with this isn't for that. It's to suggest ideas to help move Citrus County forward. Cell phone things, for instance, I mentioned yesterday at the board meeting, because of all the texting that's going on, they're all doing it on their personal devices. Those aren't captured by Citrus County. It opens them to potential litigation for public records issues. If someone doesn't send a text message that they're supposed to send in a reply, if someone deletes text messages, what have you, those are all violations of public records laws. And so it opens the county up to litigation for not having those things captured. So yesterday at the meeting, I offered an option for them, be like, hey, you guys should open up the text messaging on the county devices. All of the main county staff, the heads of the departments, they all have cell phones from the county. The commissioners all have cell phones from the county. So there's no reason then to text on their personal devices about county business, because they could do that on their the county device. And to be honest, email is archaic. That's, from years ago. Everything now is instant. Everyone does text messaging in their daily lives. It's kind of taken over the email aspect of things. So that's the way that people communicate. So it only makes sense to embrace that technology and bring that technology to the mainstream in the county business, rather than reliant on the archaic stuff. But again, if they did that and they implemented ways, IT has the ability to capture those text messages similar to the way they do it for emails. So now the county staffers and the county commissioners aren't responsible for those text messages for public records. They would be treated like emails. If a public records request comes in for a text message, then it would be fulfilled like they would an email, because the county has access to those because they're on the county devices. So again, I'm all about suggesting ideas to move Citrus County forward. How can Citrus County do things better? That's kind of what I want to do with some of this blog, podcast, whatever you want to call it, doing those things. And then someone asked me what the end goal with all of this is. What is my vision at the end? What is it that I want to get out of this? And to answer that question, I would say that my goal is for a transparent government that the citizens can trust. I want to see a government that is for the people, because we're electing them. I don't want to see a government that is controlled by a hand-selected few. Far too often in this county, going back years, we had the good old boy system. Some would still argue it still exists today. There's some very influential people that have pulled with the county commissioners and all of those things. So I want to kind of remove us from that system and bring us to a system to where everyone feels they have equal access to commissioners, and that the commissioners aren't appealing to special interest groups and things like that. So if I can do that by outing public records and making commissioners uncomfortable with things that I'm posting, calling out their activities that they're doing behind the scenes, that helps move us forward, because now it gives a wake-up call to commissioners that, hey, there's people watching, there's someone watching the steps that they're making, so let's stop doing the shady stuff behind the scenes. Far too often we notice commissioners are doing that type of thing. So if there's someone there to be able to do that for them, someone that knows the system, someone that knows the different statutes, someone that knows how to do the research to find different things in all of those things, which I think is something that we've kind of lacked in this county for a while. And then someone to do the investigations. Again, I'm not tied to this for income, so I can do deep investigations into different issues and out all of the behind the scenes stuff that's going on without fear of repercussions from that, without fear of losing subscribers or sponsors, or losing my job at a newspaper, things like that. So that is kind of where I'm at with this. I want to kind of update you guys, because I've been asked recently, like I said, of what is my plan with this? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I quote unquote creating chaos when we don't necessarily need it? But I would argue that we need this because we're at a point in time where we need to hold people accountable for things. Far too often there was never any accountability for things, and so there's processes in place, there's ordinances in place, there's chain of command, so to speak, of how things are supposed to happen in the county. And for years that's kind of been neglected, so we're kind of seeing the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And then we're seeing some things kind of going out into chaos. We're losing the structure of the command structure of how things are supposed to work. We're losing citizens' faith in things because scandals come up on things. Commissioners are doing shady stuff behind the scenes, what have you. So I'm just using my skills that I have. I'm using the research that I have, the joy of reading court cases to get case law. So when I present something to people, it's accurate information. And one thing about all of this is I will never put out anything unless I have a proof of that. For those of you guys that have followed me online for a while, I like to get into discussions on different things. But again, the one thing that you'll notice about me is that anytime I have a discussion or anytime I have a debate or anything like that, is I bring the facts with me to that. So I don't just get on there and just rant my opinion. Oh, my opinion is this, because of whatever. I want to present facts. I want to present the things for people to talk about. We grow with disagreements. Our founding fathers disagreed with one another. Alexander Hamilton hated Thomas Jefferson. They were both in George Washington's cabinet. I always use that instance. The person that I want to be is kind of like a George Washington. And I don't say that to be, we look at him as like possibly the greatest. Some people say he's the greatest president in the world. I don't look at it from that point of view. The way I look at George Washington is I was like, he was a person that was able to take all points of views in and balance all of that. And so he had Alexander Hamilton in one ear, he had Thomas Jefferson in another ear. Both men were complete polar opposites. It's similar to having like Donald Trump and Barack Obama in a cabinet with Joe Manchin as president. So think of chaos that would be, but George Washington was able to balance those two people, strong individuals, both had good ideas, both had bad ideas. He was able to balance those two extremes and craft his version of what he felt should happen. Sometimes he listened to Jefferson, sometimes he listened to Hamilton, sometimes he didn't listen to anybody or either of them. But it's good to have those type of conversations. It's good for us to debate things. It's good for us to have people checking for public records. It's good for us to have a community that's active and engaging and wanting to learn more about government and wanting to read about things that are happening. Obviously a lot of people don't have 8 hours a day on a Tuesday to go, sit in a county commission meeting. So it's good that there's people out there that provide that to them. And that's kind of my goal with all of this is I want that type of atmosphere. I want that type of reach to where people can feel safe debating things, having their opinions heard, things like that, but also get information behind the scenes and see what is actually going on with Citrus County and using that platform for accountability. As the platform grows, as we get more people, things like that, there's more reach. And so then it becomes a staple, so to speak, of Citrus County to where commissioners kind of have to listen at that point. Right now, it's just kind of, hey, there's CJ again saying about, some random rant about something because there's not the reach there yet. So my goal is to kind of grow it, get it to where we have a voice, so to speak, to where we can have a safe environment to debate issues. I'm big on letting people debate things, go back and forth with each other, bring ideas. I've got to kind of limit some of that. I'm not big on blocking anybody or deleting comments. I feel that, censorship isn't the correct way to do this. But my ask is that we're respectful with one another, knowing that there are people as well. We can have disagreements with them. We don't need to call them names, things of that nature. But again, I want that platform there, and that's kind of my end goal with all of this is to have that platform that people can feel that they're getting educated about things that are going on with county commission. They feel that we're holding the county commissioners and staff members accountable. We're creating a transparent government by doing the public records requests and making sure that things aren't happening behind the scenes and that everything is taking place in the public like it's supposed to be, and just having a place that you're able to learn about Citrus County, talk about Citrus County, and be involved in Citrus County in whatever capacity you want to be involved in. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. I felt that now was a good time to kind of put this video out because a lot of things are happening, being said. I've been, attacked on things on different platforms and all of those things. So just want to set the record straight. What my goal was, let you guys learn a little bit more about what my vision is for this channel, for this website, what have you, whatever you want to call it. And let you guys know that I am in this to help make Citrus County better. That might take some ruffling of feathers. That might take some, commissioners or staff members, making changes to the way they do things, the way they operate. Because again, no one's really challenged the status quo on this. For years, it's been one direction. So, it might seem drama at first. It might see a lot of chaos. It might be a lot of those things. But I think after all the dust settles, all of those things, I think Citrus County becomes a better place because of those things, because we're having to kind of disrupt what has been taking place. So that's kind of my vision. I'd love to hear what your thoughts on that. As always, my inbox is open. You guys can reach out to me, message me, email me. I'm pretty easy to find here in Citrus County. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I'd love for you guys to be engaged. And if you have any information about anything or you want me to research anything, feel free to reach out to me, message me, and I will do what I can with my limited time that I have to dive into some of those issues here in Citrus County. So until next time, thank you for chiming in. Thank you for all your shares, all your supports, all your comments, because it's greatly appreciated. I know recently it's been kind of chaos with some of the negative things that have been said about me and, whatever. Again, I have thick skin. I don't have feelings. I always joke around, with my wife that, there's no feelings. You can't hurt them kind of thing. So, none of that stuff hurts me. So, again, appreciate you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys for following along. Can't wait to share more with you guys, dive more into Citrus County issues, and kind of keep things out there in the open for you guys to see and learn about Citrus County. So thanks again. I will see you guys later.